Today, I'm talking about Men, an A24 movie directed by Alex Garland, his third feature-length film, and it stars Jessie Buckley, who I mostly know for Chernobyl, and Rory Kinnear, who I mostly know as Tanner in the Daniel Craig Bond movies. Following the death of her ex-husband, a woman takes a solo vacation to the countryside where she gets stalked by men who all share a similar face. Alex Garland has proven that he is more than capable of directing a good sci-fi/horror movie. Ex Machina is a great film, as well as Annihilation, one of my favorite movies of the last decade. He's one of the best directors the sci-fi genre has to offer. So when I saw the trailer for Men, I was very excited. It looked terrifying, and when I saw it was directed by Alex Garland, his third feature-length film, I knew I wanted to see this on opening night. Now, there are two things that make Men a good movie and a borderline great one. The first being the performances, led entirely by Jessie Buckley and Rory Kinnear. There's a couple of other actors in the movie, but they don't have much screen time compared to these two. Both Jessie Buckley and Rory Kinnear carry this movie on their back, and they do not let up with their performances. Jessie Buckley, who I thought was excellent in Chernobyl, I think is even better in this movie. Some people may say her best scenes are where she lets out her true anger. Her husband does not want to get a divorce in the film, but she does, and she goes off on him in the film as well as in several other scenes, but personally, I think she's better in the scenes where you're on the edge of your seat. It's very suspenseful during these scenes. Towards the end of the movie, yes, she's amazing in those scenes, but she's even better in the scenes where she has the look of a terrified woman. But the biggest surprise to me was Rory Kinnear. He haunted my mind while watching Men. I had no idea Rory Kinnear was this talented, and I'm sure this was a very difficult performance to pull off. He plays 8 to 10 characters, and with every single character he plays, he gets more and more scary. And that's Men's other greatest strength. The film is extremely unsettling. And when you're watching Rory Kinnear scare the living hell out of Jessie Buckley's character, she's not the only one who's scared. I was sitting in my recliner with my hands like this, and every single time the movie got quieter, I just lifted them up ever so slightly, just in case Rory Kinnear popped out of nowhere to scare the living crap out of me. So now I have even more respect for Jessie Buckley and Rory Kinnear as performers, plus Alex Garland as a director. The execution is perfect. There are little to no jump scares in Men, which I love and respect. It bothers a lot of people when jump scares appear out of nowhere. It rattles you, and then you're no longer feeling that suspense that you were moments ago because it takes you completely out of the scene. The tension dies right when a noise happens as loud as a jump scare. It gets really annoying, but Men barely has any of them, which I love. The cinematography too is mesmerizing for a horror flick, and if you're a big fan of Annihilation, you're going to love the music in this film as well. All in all, Men delivered on everything it promised in its trailer. Well, except for the final 10% of the movie, which gets very bizarre. I am all for indie movies and A24 horror flicks. Sometimes they get really weird, but usually I'm okay with it. But the last 10 to 15 minutes goes a bit over the top. And honestly, that's where I drew the line. Listen though, I respect how ambitious Men is. It aims for those high-reaching ideas, and sometimes it succeeds, especially with the first half, if not the first 2/3 of Men. But after that, the movie gets so bizarre, and I for one have never been the biggest fan of when a movie takes you out of the realm of reality. At least when most of the movie feels normal and then somewhere along the way it loses its mind. And that is exactly what brings me to this point in the review. Men is a very ambiguous movie. Some people are going to love Men's finale. They're going to claim that Men is one of 2022's greatest films so far, whereas other people are going to slam this movie and call it one of the worst of the year, if not the worst. I can completely understand both sides of the spectrum. It's certainly a movie that's going to divide audiences because of its ambiguity. And sometimes I love ambiguous movies. There's plenty of films that end on an ambiguous note. For this movie, though, I don't think it totally works, because a good portion of the finale is just a metaphor. And I'm not a big fan of metaphors in films or symbolism. It honestly brings me out of my movie-going experience every single time. And Men doesn't take its metaphorical content lightly. It makes sure you know exactly what this movie is really about. Are you guys curious what the biggest theme of Men is? Well, it's toxic masculinity. Something that I don't connect with because I consider myself a nicer guy, and I have never been the biggest fan of political themes being utilized in cinema because it's, of course, a political theme. Now, the good news is Men can be left up to your own interpretation. That's why I love ambiguous endings sometimes. But Men is the type of metaphorical movie that wants you to know what it's about without totally giving it away. And sometimes it gets really annoying because they constantly bash you on the head that men are evil people. They do terrible things, which isn't going to connect with everybody, including myself. That's just a depressing, angry theme that I don't think is necessary. If the movie just stayed to the track that it was on for the first 2/3, I would have given this movie a very high score. It might have been my favorite of the year, but I can't say that now, although Alex Garland directs the heck out of this movie. The performances are two of the best of 2022 so far, and it's a really scary movie. It terrified me. And the ending is ambiguous, which I respect even if it didn't all work. I'm giving Men a 70%. So for those of you who have also seen Men, do you love it? Do you hate it? I don't think there's an in-between with this movie. Or do you love his other films like Annihilation or Ex Machina, or have you never been a big fan of Alex Garland to begin with? Let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comment section. And of course, as always, if you are new to my channel, click the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.